Well, hello my babes, and welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you are new here. My name is Lori Beth, and today I am going to talk about all of the books I would like to read in the month of June. Like to read. Will I read all of them? To be determined. Literally TBR, TBD, because I have really big hopes and really big dreams for myself always at the start of a month, but that's what I love about the start of a month. I feel so refreshed every time a month rolls over. And I don't know why that is, but here we are, full swing into summer, and something is happening to me. Like, I myself am coming into a new season, and I've talked about this in a couple of my other videos, but I am just devouring so much literary fiction, and it has like hit me out of nowhere. But per usual, I'm getting ahead of myself. We are going to go into all of the books that I would like to try and read in the month of June, and we are going to go ahead and get started. And first up on my list is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. I have talked about this book time and time again, and I even have a vlog that I'm going to be doing on this book, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. And here I was just telling you how much literary fiction I have been like consuming nonstop in the last few weeks. And this is a fantasy. A darkish, occultish fantasy. So not literary fiction, but of course, whenever my girl S.T. Gibson comes out with a book, I am going to get it and I am going to read it as soon as possible. And in this book, we follow our three main characters, really, David, Rise, and Moira, and they are kind of helping David try to break free from this very old, like centuries old family curse that has been put on him. And it has a lot to do with the occult and different types of people within the occult. So mediums, magicians, sorcerers, people that just strictly read tarot cards and palms. And I will say it is a very, very intriguing story. Also a dynamic in here of kind of like a love triangle situation. So where David and Rise were previously in a relationship, and now Rise and Moira are married, and now the three of them are coming together to try to help David through the situation and the dynamic that is going to kind of shift and change within the three of them. So I'm super excited to read this one. Again, I'm keeping it kind of brief and kind of short because there's going to be much more detail to come on this one. But yeah, S.T. Gibson, we know her, we love her, she's one of my favorites, so definitely getting to this baby in the month of June. So the next one I do not have a physical copy of because it is actually an ARC that I was lucky to receive on NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley and the publishers for giving me a copy of Catalina by, and I'm so sorry, I'm going to probably butcher this name, it is quite long, Carla Cornejo Villavicencio.
Sorry, not my best efforts.
But I am also stepping back into my ARC era, and I'm doing this mostly through my vlogs, so my weekly vlogs. If you have not watched any of those, I will link some of them down below, or you can go back and look through my page. But I love getting my hands on things early and kind of giving people an idea of what's to come before it's even out. I personally have found so many books through booktube and bookstagram myself, and more specifically from people that have read ARCs and given their reviews on them, and then I like have that in my mind's eye and kind of on my TBR for future dates when that book does come out. This comes out, I believe, in July. I'll put the date somewhere on the page with the cover of the book, and I don't know a whole lot about this book, I'm not gonna lie. I was drawn in by the cover because the cover is absolutely beautiful, but also because there was a couple of key words in here. A year in the life of the unforgettable Catalina, a wickedly wry and heartbreakingly vulnerable student at an elite college, forced to navigate an opaque past, an uncertain future, tragedies on two continents, and the tantalizing possibilities of love and freedom. I mean, come on, an emotional, reflective story about a young woman at Harvard, I believe is where she's at. So I'm like, okay, put me in an academic setting. Put me in the setting of a young, smart woman who is from a different country and kind of making her own way and clearly struggling with issues from the past. To me, this sounded like such a good, just a solid story and such a good age to read about, in my opinion, especially as a female who is now in her 30s, kind of going back and reading stories about young women, maybe in those transformative years of being in your college age range and getting through life as a real adult for the first time. I always find those super, super interesting to read. And also not just that, having some sort of dark past or something to work through, because like college and becoming a woman is not hard enough. Like now this person is dealing with issues from their past, or maybe being, again, from a different country and kind of adjusting to a completely new scenery. I'm super excited about this one. So again, I'll put the release date for this somewhere on the screen, but I just thought it sounded really good. It just sounds like a solid story, so I'm excited to get to that one. And up next is Hurricane Girl by Marcy Dermansky. I saw this floating around, I want to say on Bookstagram, and I immediately thought to myself, I have to get my hands on that book. So again, I am stepping into like my fiction, contemporary fiction, weird girl fiction era, and this story is like all of those things wrapped into one. So we follow a main character who has uprooted herself and moved to North Carolina, I believe. She has become somewhat successful in her career, and she has made enough money to purchase a small beach house all on her own. She's super, super proud of it. She gets herself out of an abusive relationship and moves to this new city, and she's just really kind of ready to start on her own officially and create this life away from the life that she had. And tragedy strikes, and a hurricane comes a week after she lives in this brand new house that she bought all on her own and completely wipes it away. And now she is just almost living in like this fever dream of what happens after a tragedy like that. And to me, it just sounded like such a gripping story. Like, what do we do in the face of a tragedy? Like, do we succumb to it? Do we find humor in it? How do we as humans function when tragedy happens? So the book itself, I think, even though there are some tragic events that happen to our main character, is kind of a little light, a little airy, and again, kind of that fever dream writing style where she's just kind of like going through the motions and kind of just trying to understand what's happening to her. But I'm really excited for this one. And again, it's kind of like scratching that itch of like that really weird girl fiction. Like, I feel like this main character is not going to be handling things in like the proper way, if you will. And I'm kind of really into that. I'm into women just like doing what women need to do. So really excited to get to that one. And up next is a new to me book in general and a new to me author. I have seen this book floating around on Bookstagram a little bit, and I was very kindly sent a copy of this book by the publisher Angry Robot. So thank you so much, Angry Robot, for this copy, because it is absolutely stunning, and it is The Branded by Joe Riccioni. Sorry on the name. Again, it's not my day for names. These are very beautiful names, and I am not making them sound beautiful. So again, my apologies, but get a load of this stunning book. Look at the shift on that. Beautiful. So I have to be honest, I don't even really know what this book is about. I do know that it's either a series or a duology, I believe. Duology. They also very kindly sent me a press release document with the book. So we're going to kind of read this together and learn about this book. But give me a cover like that and I'm sold. I would probably walk by this in Barnes & Noble and buy it on the cover alone. So I'm already on board for this book. But let's see. This is an epic high concept speculative novel with explosive ideas around gender and class, served up with romance, conflict, and quick fire narrative pace. I mean, sold. Sold, sold. So about the book, Isfolk is divided into two classes: the branded, who are vulnerable to disease, and the pure, who are bigger, stronger, and immune. Orphan twins Nara and Osha are sequestered in the Citadel, where their unbranded skin entitles them to a life of privilege as precious breeding stock. Nara itches to escape her confines and returns to the wilds of the Thornwood, where she and her sister grew up. But when she is forced to run, she discovers there's much more at stake than her own life. The branded are on the rise, and the girls are caught up in their prophecies. Forced to accept the help of a mysterious southern brand known only as the Wrangler, Nara discovers the latent power lying dormant in uncanny abilities she's had since childhood. But in a world where women are traded as commodities, who can she trust in the lands beyond the Thornwood? What does the Wrangler know about her forgotten childhood? Two sisters without a past hold the weight of the future in their hands. I mean, it sounds phenomenal. First of all, I love the sister dynamic. I love stories, fantasy stories where there are two or multiple classes, whether it's multiple species or multiple classes of people, like hierarchies in a system. And when people from those different hierarchies or different systems kind of come together and create this unlikely team, I eat that stuff up. I love those tropes so much. It's what makes fantasy, first of all, to me. And again, this is a new to me author, a new to me story, and it says duology at the top. So I correct myself from earlier. It's not just a series, it's a duology. And if you have been here for a hot minute, you know how I feel about duologies. Do I have to say it again? Probably not. So, very excited to get to this one. Because it was sent to me by the publisher, I am going to make this a priority. I am always appreciative when I get something like that, and I take it upon myself. I actually take it quite seriously when I get these arcs, when I get these advanced copies of things, whether it's advanced or just, you know, through some sort of tour. It's really important to me to give my honest thoughts and opinions on these books. So I'm really excited to get to this one. Should be a good time. And another one I am really excited to get to in the month of June is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is another new to me author, and an author that I have heard so many good things about. And she does have a backlist, I believe, of a couple of books. So this gets me really excited because another thing I would like to be better at is finding authors that I fall in love with, or authors that I truly enjoy, continuing to read their works, especially when they have a backlog of things. And I know that she has a few books out already. I kind of feel like she has another one coming out soon. I believe so. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong again, but I have heard nothing but good things about this story. I'll read you just a quick synopsis. A hauntingly beautiful novel that will captivate readers who crave a slow-burning, atmospheric tale of love, loss, and grief, with a unique blend of horror and science fiction elements that will resonate with fans of literary fiction and LGBTQIA stories. So, is there a keyword in there that I don't appreciate? All of them. That to me is just completely right up my alley. From what I understand, this is a story, when it says loss, love, grief, acceptance, I believe it follows two women who are in a relationship. One of them is some sort of diver or something like that. She goes on a dive and then disappears for months at a time. And her wife at home is grieving her loss, clearly, but then I believe she makes a reappearance and she is kind of changed from what happened to her. So now you have this dynamic in a relationship where someone thought someone was gone permanently and now they're back, but they're not the same as when they left. And there's just a lot of emotions. It sounds very dark and mysterious, but again, also very emotional at the same time. So I've heard nothing but good things about this book. And again, a new to me author. So if I really enjoy this story, I can't wait to go and pick up anything else that she has written. I'm going to make an effort to do that throughout the rest of this year. And if she has another book coming out that I can't quite place right now, then that's even better. I'm very excited about that. And another book I would love to read this month is Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. Can we talk about this cover? I've said it before, I'll say it again. I have a thing for pomegranates, and when I just stumble upon pomegranates in my everyday life, I immediately just put into my mind that it was meant to be. This is for me. This was clearly made for me. This author, I'm sure, made this cover just for me. So how am I not going to buy this book? This is kind of on trend with my literary fiction journey that I have just full force gone into this year. And not just that, my women's fiction journey. So not only are we going to celebrate women's rights on this channel, we are going to celebrate women's wrongs on this channel going forward. I am completely obsessed with any of these contemporary fiction novels that follow women, and messy women at that. Messy, unbothered women, messy women that like know that they're doing wrong, but they still do it anyways. I'm obsessed, I'm addicted, and I am hoping that this book is going to kind of scratch that itch that I have a little bit. From what I understand, this is a little bit more on the side of a woman in the workforce, a woman who is like kind of out there in the cutthroat Silicon Valley world, I believe, and she's really just like trying to make headway, make herself a career, and she's like, why though? Like, why do I have to do these things? This book has been kind of described as dark and edgy, and it really looks at capitalism, I believe, especially in America, and the standards that are put on people to work in this capitalist mindset, and also what comes behind being a woman in the workforce. So I'm really excited. It sounds like kind of a dark, really powerful journey of a female in the working world, and hey, I'm right there with you. I am a girly that has to work 9 to 5 every single day. So I want to see what this protagonist does in her journey, and I will live vicariously through her if need be. And last but not least, on my TBR for the month of June is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This is a translated novel in another literary fiction novel, but kind of leaning towards that dystopian speculative fiction genre, if you will, which is also kind of such a good stepping stone for me as a fantasy girly. I have enjoyed some of these really kind of magical realism, speculative fiction novels. They seem like a really good, again, stepping stone from one genre to the other, and I find them so easy to just get lost in. Like, those are the kind of books that I will start reading and I will lift my head up like an hour later because my neck hurts and I'm like, whoa, where did the time go? I will give you just a quick synopsis of this book as well. This is a haunting and stimulating novel that is a perfect fit for readers who appreciate dark, atmospheric storytelling, feminist themes, and introspective explorations of human connection and resilience, particularly those who enjoy literary dystopian fiction and are drawn to complex, character-driven narratives. So again, if you have been here for a minute and you've watched any of my vlogs, specifically because you watch me go through a book from start to finish, I talk about how I love character-driven books so much. And I think that's why I've always been drawn to fantasy too, because fantasy books tend to be quite big. Well, those are some thick books. You have a lot of time to spend with characters, and fiction books are usually a lot shorter. So when I can find fiction novels that can make me feel very invested in characters in a much different time frame than I would spend reading a fantasy book or a fantasy series, I find that like a home run. That, in my opinion, is what I am looking for in a book. Also, I believe this is just very, very heavy on feminist themes, and I have also been really drawn to, again, more stories about women and women doing what they need to do as women, whether that's right, whether that's wrong. We're all in this world kind of trying to survive, and I believe in this story very specifically, this is about women in a tragic situation trying to survive, and the relationships that form between not just people but women in particular when they are in very dire situations. I have personally heard nothing but good things about this book, and again, just a very emotional, very transformative story, and I am so excited to add this to my list for the month of June. Well, there you have it, my friends. That is all of the books that I would like to try to read in the month of June. A very tall order for someone like me, but I have high hopes because at the rate that I am devouring some of these books right now, I feel very, very good about my summer read. It is a new season. We are here for all the girly fiction, and I can't wait to devour all these books, and some of these, read them along with you. So if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button because it always helps a girl out. And if you want to watch me read through some of these books that we talked about in today's video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button too, because I will be including some of these in my weekly vlogs as well. And I would love to know if you have read any of these books, or if there's a book that you think I would like based on some of the books we talked about in today's video. Go ahead and drop that in a comment below as well. I am here for the recommendations, especially for these girly fiction novels. As always, it has been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.